In the previous section, we discussed popular apps for Jira. Let us now discuss development with Jira and integration with other tools. In this section, we are going to take a look at integrating with Bitbucket and GitHub. We will discuss integrating with other Atlassian tools using application links. We will go through the integration of Jira with LDAP, and we will also discuss implementing single sign-on. And we will also take a look at mail handlers in Jira. Integrating with Bitbucket and GitHub. In this video, we are going to take a look at integrating with Bitbucket or GitHub. We will discuss the benefits of integrating Jira with version control system. We will go through the smart commits, and we will also take a look at workflow triggers. Integrating with Bitbucket or GitHub. This integration with Bitbucket or GitHub can be done with the help of out-of-the-box Jira DVCS connector. You can use it to integrate your Jira project with your repository in either Bitbucket or GitHub. And this integration works with Bitbucket Cloud and both the hosted and enterprise version of GitHub. You can go through this link to know more about DVCS connector in Jira. Benefits of integrating Jira with version control systems. When you are integrating Jira with version control systems, and especially Bitbucket or GitHub, you can see your branches, commit messages, and pull request event information within your Jira issues. You can also create a branch directly from Jira issue. And when it comes to smart commits is basically your updating of Jira issues from your commit messages. For example, when the developer is working on the activity and they're committing any code in version control, you can ask them to also add comment to the Jira ticket by simply referencing the Jira ticket or issue ID in the commit message. They can also log their time, and at the same time they can transition the issues in the workflow. You can go through this link to know more about the smart commits. Workflow triggers. Workflow triggers is updating your Jira issues from connected development tools. For example, let us say when you create a branch in Bitbucket, you also want to update your Jira issues. Another example could be updating your Jira issue status to done when the branch is merged in Bitbucket. You can go through this link to know more about how workflow triggers can be configured. To integrate your code repository in Bitbucket or GitHub, you need to first go to Jira administration, and then if you go to the applications tab, which is the first tab under your Jira administration, you will find one link under integration section called DVCS accounts. If you click on this link, you will get the option to configure your code repository either on Bitbucket or GitHub. So when you open your DVCS account section, you can see here the list of all the repositories that you may have already configured. But if you want to create a new integration with Bitbucket or GitHub, you can click on the button on top and you will be presented with this interface where you can specify your host, which is Bitbucket Cloud, GitHub or GitHub Enterprise. And then you can provide the details like the user account, and then you need to provide the OAuth key and OAuth secret. And you will be able to generate these key and secret from your Bitbucket and your GitHub account. So let us take a look at these integrations in our Jira project. So let me open one of my Jira project where I will show you how we can integrate a specific issue to the code or commit that you will be doing in your code repository. So this is one of my backlog in the project where I'm taking a look at the board, the agile board that I have for this particular project. And in this agile board, I have one activity called SSPC-1, which is my story in the project. Now let me open this story in a separate issue view where I will show you how the integration of Jira issues work when you have a code repository linked to your project. This is the story which I am currently responsible to work on, and before I start the work, I just want to show you the workflow that we have currently associated with this particular story. If I click on the view workflow link, I can see the workflow, and which is a simple workflow in this case: to do, in progress, and done. We just have 3 states in the workflow that we have. And let us say when you are ready to start the work on your story, it could be a development activity, then you can also create a new branch directly in your code repository, which is in this case Bitbucket. If I click on this link called create branch on the right section under development, you will be able to create a branch directly within your code repository that you have access to. So you can see here that we have the option to first select the repository, and you can create a branch from, let us say, the master branch, and then your branch name will be prefixed with the issue key. And that is the key here to have this integration of your specific Jira issue with your code repository. So let us now create a new branch. Simply click on the create branch button, and your new branch will be created for you in your code repository. Now, as a developer, you can of course click on the checkout in source tree button, or you can also pull these changes on your local development environment where you can start the work on your code repository. Now, let us say you want to just evaluate and test how this integration works. So you can simply edit and change your code directly in your Bitbucket cloud instance. And this is a feature that will allow you to make a small change in your code, and you can do it using the web interface. So right now you can see here that we have this list of files that we have in the code repository, and you can simply modify any of these files directly on the cloud. So for this example, I'll show you how I can make a small change in one of the files. Let us say I have a file called install.txt, and there is an option here to make a change by simply clicking the edit button. So when you click on the edit button, you will be able to, of course, make a change in this particular file. So let us say I want to make a change here. I'll probably simply add some text here, or I can also add a new line. This is a new line in my code. And when you are ready, you can simply click on the commit button here. So for this example, I'm doing this commit directly from my web interface of Bitbucket, but you can also do this from your local development environment. And when you do a commit, you can of course push it. So for this example, I just want to show you how we can mention the issue key in the commit message. So all you need to do, you need to mention the issue key, which is SSPC-1, and you can also provide some smart commit messages. So if you want to also start the progress of the issue, you can simply say hash in progress. And this means that as a developer, I want to show that I have started the work on the issue. So you can say that in progress, which is the status name in the workflow. And you can also say that for this particular activity, you have already spent, let us say, 2 hours on this particular task. So you can say hash time, and then you can mention the time here, which is, let us say, 2h. It could be 2m, it could be 20m, and this is something that will be updated in the Jira issue. And finally, you can also add a comment. So if you simply type in your hash comment tag here, you are letting your code repository know that this text that will follow my hash comment should be added as a comment on my Jira issue. So when you click on the commit message, your changes will be committed and pushed to the server. And now we can go back to the same Jira issue key to take a look at those changes. So we can also click on the link here that says SSPC C-1 because we have this integration of your code repository with your Jira issue. So now I'm back to my Jira issue, which is my story, and I can see here very clearly that the status of the story is now in progress. I can also see on the right hand side that there is a log time, which is 2h. And I can also see that we have some information about the commit messages. So if I click on one commit link here, I can take a look at the actual commit message. And you can also see that we have the comment added from the code repository commit message back to the Jira issue. Let us now take a look at the workflow triggers. And for that, I need to first show you the workflow so that we can also make a change in the workflow to add a new trigger. So if I go back to my project settings and I can modify my workflow. To use the workflow triggers, you first need to modify your workflow, and I will simply click on this icon here to make a change in the workflow. So now I'm inside my workflow and my requirement is very simple. I want my code repository to change the status of my issue to done whenever I am merging my branch back to the master branch. So if I click on the transition that is going to my done transition, I can go to the triggers option and I am now going to add a new trigger that will allow my Jira issue to be updated. So you can click on the add trigger button here and you can select various options, like you can trigger this transition when the pull request is created. You can also trigger this transition when the pull request is declined. You can also trigger this by taking a look at the commit that is being created, and this can be triggered by branch that will be added in the code repository. But our requirement is to resolve or to change the transition of the story to done when the pull request is merged. And that means that the changes that you're doing has been merged back to the master branch. So simply click on the next button and then you can click on the button called add trigger. And finally, you can save and publish your workflow so that we can verify whether this is working or not by merging the branch back to the master branch. So we can now go back to the same story that we were working on, and the current status of the story is in progress. So you can see here that the current status is in progress. And if I go back to my code repository, so I can go back to my code repository by simply clicking on the link here on the right hand side where it says one branch, and it will take me very quickly back to the code that is being associated with this Jira issue. So now we are back to the code repository, and if you now create a new pull request, you can click on the action here, pull request, and let us now click on the button called create a pull request. You can do it either by clicking on the link or you can do it by clicking on the button on the top right section. And then you can specify that the pull request will be created from your branch that you were working on and you want to merge it to the master branch. So you can simply click on the button called create a pull request. And by the way, you also have the option to have some kind of an approval mechanism where you want someone to review your code. So you can also have some reviewer in between. So let us now create a pull request and verify whether this new merge that we are doing back to the master is actually going to update the Jira issue or not. So right now we are taking a look at one of the pull requests where either you or your colleague can validate the code, they can review the code, and you can also do some kind of a code review if you want by simply clicking on this icon here that says add a comment to this line. But for this example, I just want to show you very quickly how we can merge the code and how we can use workflow trigger. So I'm going to merge my branch back to the master branch. So this merge has been completed. And if I now go back to my Jira issue, I can find my Jira issue on the very top in the list. So you can see here that the status of the ticket is now done. And I can also see here that there was a pull request and the current status is merged. So by looking at this particular ticket, either you or your manager or your team members can know that this ticket or this story has been resolved. And the best part is that as a developer, I might not even open Jira issue or Jira instance to work on the updation of the ticket. I can do everything by simply adding a new smart commit, and the status of your ticket can also be updated either through your smart commit messages, or you can drive your updation of Jira issues by using and by utilizing the workflow triggers.